Welcome to this webinar today. We are going to talk about probate records in England and Wales and how to find them online. This webinar is the first part of a three-part series. We are starting with the easier to find wills, so expect each part to become a little bit more involved. I need to preface this webinar by saying I am not an expert in England and Wales probate records, but I have had success in finding hundreds of wills online. I will be showing you the methods I have used. Part 1, which we will cover today, will be the pre-1858 wills found in the Prerogative courts of Canterbury and York. Part 2 will be on February the 11th and will cover post-1857 wills. From 1858 on, the civil government took over the settlement of estates and all wills were probated through the principal probate registry. Part 3 on March 24th will cover the pre-1858 wills. Prior to 1858 wills that were not probated in the two higher ecclesiastical courts of Canterbury and York were administered by various lower ecclesiastical courts. Here is a quote from the National Archives site. It says, "The National Archives holds wills proved in the highest and busiest probate court, the Prerogative Court of Canterbury, or PCC, in London. By the late 1850s, it was proving about 40% of all wills. The records of this court are the best place to start looking for a will. Over 1 million PCC wills are available online. However, before 1858, there were more than 200 other church courts across the country that dealt with probate, each of which kept separate records and registers of wills. There was no central index, and this remains the case. For most wills proved elsewhere, you will need to search in other archives. That is why we will, in part 3, find the more difficult to find wills." I realize this presentation is pretty specific, and you may think it does not apply to you. But if you have ancestors in England or Wales, these probate records can be a great source of information. The information you find will vary from record to record, but wills may provide residence, occupation, and condition of the testator, names of heirs, other family members, witnesses, guardians, relationships, residences of others mentioned in the will, property names, and sometimes an inventory of the deceased person's personal property. Here are a few things to keep in mind. It is my opinion that wills are one of the biggest untapped sources of genealogical information. During the time period in England and Wales, pre-1841, when the first usable census came out, a will is probably the only record where all family members might be listed together. While it is true that the general populace didn't necessarily have a will, some people made a small will or had a distribution of property called a letter of administration, or admon. Even if your ancestors didn't make a will, they could be named as beneficiaries in the wills of their relatives. That fact alone accounts for a lot of people. At this point, however, I am unaware of any indexes naming those mentioned in the will. Wills are listed by when they are probated, not when the testator died. The testator could have died many years before the will was proved. If you have ever seen or read the book Bleak House by Charles Dickens, or seen the mini-series, think of that lawsuit of Jarndyce and Jarndyce that went on for years and years. In these webinars, we are talking about wills that can be found online. I'm sure there are wills out there that are digitized but not indexed, and/or indexes and collections that are only available in archives or other repositories. Before launching into how to find England and Wales probate records online, it's important to have a little general background on the probate records themselves. As I mentioned previously, before 1858, probate was administered by ecclesiastical courts. The highest probate courts were the Prerogative Court of Canterbury, which was the senior court, and the Prerogative Court of York. Today we'll cover each one of these individually, then discuss how you can find these wills online. Wills found in the Prerogative Court of Canterbury, or PCC, were mainly for wealthy individuals during the time period from 1384 to 1858. The PCC covered southern England and Wales. For a will to be probated in this court, the value of the property had to be more than £5. If you had property in more than one diocese in the province of Canterbury, you would have to file your will at the PCC. Also, if you had property in both the province of Canterbury and the province of York, you would have to file at the PCC. During several years of the English Civil War, the PCC was the only court probating wills. It also holds wills of people who died outside of England, including British citizens and others who had property. Similar to the PCC wills are found in the Prerogative Court of York. They were mainly for wealthy individuals during the time period from 1267 to 1858. The Prerogative Court of York covered the counties of York, Durham, Northumberland, Westmoreland, Cumberland, Lancashire, Cheshire, Nottinghamshire, and the Isle of Man. The value of the property had to be more than £5. I hope you will permit me now to divert a little from my topic for just a minute for a short lesson on the pronunciation of English county names. Firstly, when referring to an English county, the name of the county does not need the modifier county. The county stands alone, as in Essex, Suffolk, Lancashire, etc. This is different in Ireland, where county is used in front of the county name, as in County Galway or County Cork. And in the US, where it is used after the county name, as in Essex County, New Jersey, or Suffolk County, Massachusetts. Also, counties that have S-H-I-R-E affixed to them, such as Leicestershire, Yorkshire, Cambridgeshire, are pronounced as shire, not shire. The Shire belongs in The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Okay, now that I've got that off my chest, let's jump into the Prerogative Court of Canterbury wills. First strategy I would suggest as you go looking for PCC wills is to go to the Family Search Wiki. Put the Prerogative Court of Canterbury in the search bar. This wiki article gives great information about the PCC. About halfway down the page, there is a subtitle that gives links for the online records and indexes. From these links, you can go to the National Archives, the Genealogist, and Ancestry.com, all of which have an index and actual images of the wills. The search is free in all the companies, but you will need a subscription for Ancestry and the Genealogist to access the images of the wills. Your LDS access works just fine. Even though the wiki says that the National Archives will charge you £3.50 for a will, I'll show you how you can actually get wills on the National Archives site for free. Let's start with Ancestry.com, as I find that the easiest search. Just click on the link that is there in the Family Search Wiki, and it will bring you to this search page, specified for the PCC wills. I put in the name Coleman and Leicestershire, England, because I have Coleman ancestors in Leicestershire. Notice I am starting with a broad search, just a last name and a county. Narrowing your search by putting in names that could be spelled differently or places that could be different limits your results. These Coleman ancestors are probably some of the only ones I have had that have some prestige and some money and property to bequeath. Most of my ancestors are agricultural laborers. Here are the results I got from searching Ancestry.com. Several of these Colemans are related to me. The one I am most interested in is John Sherrard Coleman, shown here. It shows his will was probated in 1828. So all you do is click on View Record on the left side. When you do this, you will see the thumbnail of his will. By clicking on that, you will see the first page of the will. Be sure to look at consecutive pages of the will. This will can be downloaded, but then the fun begins. You get to read the will. I usually highlight names and significant information as I go through it for the first time. That way I don't have to put myself through the agony of reading it twice. Here is the second page of the will. I will not show you all 5 pages of the will, but there's a lot of great information revealed in those pages. If you don't have an Ancestry subscription, you still have 2 options. You can go to the genealogist or the National Archives UK site. For the genealogist, you need a subscription to see the will, but not to do the search. The link in Family Search Wiki is a bad link. So just put the genealogist in Google and it will bring you to this page. There are a lot of search parameters. I just use the master search and I put in John Sherrard Coleman. Here are the results. The very first result is his probate record. But because I do not have a subscription, I'm afraid we can't go any further than this, but I'm sure it would bring up the will, just like we saw on Ancestry.com. Now we will return to the wiki page and click on the National Archives UK link. It will take you directly to the search screen. However, in case that link is broken, and to show you what other databases are on the National Archives site, I will show you how to get there from the National Archives UK homepage. Make sure you put UK in there, because otherwise it will take you to the US National Archives. If you plug in National Archives UK in Google, you'll come to a page like this. It would be a good idea, really, to explore other options on the site. There's a lot there. But for now, we will click on Help with your research. That takes you to this page, and then you go to Online Collections. That will bring you to several different online collections. Some of these other ones might also be appealing for you to look at. For example, if you had ancestors in the Army or in the Merchant Navy, or perhaps criminals that were involved in court proceedings. As you see, they've got lots of other online collections. For our purposes today, you'll go down to Wills and Death Duties and check the box and hit Apply. That will bring you to this page, which includes 1384 to 1858 wills. Click on that. It will bring you to this page. Now, this page is helpful in a lot of ways because it tells you a lot about the records as well. It's good to read that before you actually go for the search. If you scroll down a bit further, you will see this search box. Here again, I put in Coleman and Leicestershire. It gives me 21 results. And on the second page at the top, will number 16, it shows the will of John Sherrard Coleman, gentleman of Bittleswell, Leicestershire. If you were to click on his name, you get this page, which shows you the path of the will and also tells you in this small box to the right that I've marked in red, where you can get the download of the will for £3.50. However, note that it says you can get it for free if you sign in. All you need to do is register, and if you can see that red circle marked at the top, that's where you would register. So I've already registered. I would sign in. Now the box says that you can order up to 10 items per basket per day and up to 100 in a 30-day period. So in one day, you could order 10 wills or other online documents and it would cost you nothing. One thing you might want to keep in mind is that a download from the National Archives will be in PDF format. However, a download from Ancestry.com will be in JPEG format, so you would need to decide which format you want to have. Now for the Prerogative Court of York. Finding online wills for the Prerogative Court of York is not as straightforward as finding wills for the PCC. I will explain the best way I know how to do it. Firstly, go to the Family Search Wiki and put in Exchequer and Prerogative Courts of the Archbishop of York, which will bring you to this page. About halfway down, you will see a subtitle that says Online Indexes. Find My Past has the will indexes from 1267 to 1500 and from 1688 to 1858, so there is a gap. Accessing the indexes from Find My Past for those time periods is the most straightforward way to find the wills. We'll talk about the time period between 1500 to 1688, which involves this table you see just below the online index information. Clicking on the links to Find My Past from the wiki is the easiest way to go. Here is the index search for the first time period, 1267 to 1500. And here is the index search for the time period 1688 to 1858. This is the collection I will use for my example. I am looking for a Sinclair family in the town of York. I put in just Sinclair, and I came up with these results. The one I'm interested in is Elizabeth Sinclair in the year 1832. You can click on the image, which is the icon on the right over here, of one of the two, but it will not give you the will. It is simply the image of the original index, as shown here. If you go back or click on the transcription, which is that first icon, it takes you to this detail page. You can see on the detail page that you can order the document by clicking on this link. When you click on the link, these are the pages you'll get. You'll get this Find My Past order form, and further down, the information about the cost. £7.50 for a registered probate and £13.50 for an original probate. If you were going to order several wills, that can get very expensive. You're looking at about $10 for the £7.50 registered will and $17 for the original probate that's $13.50. However, there is a way of getting around this. If I go back to that detail page again, notice there is a document reference which says volume 186, folio 87. Folio is that's what the letter F stands for. Write that information down or keep that in your head and go to the Family Search Catalogue. In the Family Search Catalogue, you're going to put in the keyword search, Wills and Administrations, 1389 to 1858. That will bring you to this page where you can see it says the author is the Church of England Archbishop of York Exchequer and Prerogative Courts. Personally, I am not fond of the way this set of films was catalogued. It seems to me very vague, but that's what you put in. Click on that and you'll get several pages listing volumes and years. If you remember from what I just showed you, the volume number was 186. You will need to click on that film of volume 186. Now notice that there is a lock on these films, which means they are only accessible through a Family Search Center, the Family Search Library, or here at BYU. Once you click on that film icon, you're going to see something like this, which is a digitized version of the microfilm. Remember that the folio number was 87. Look here at the top left, and it shows image 1 of 473. To get to image 87, add a few pages, because as you can see, they've got introductory pages here, such as the title of the microfilm, the information about the filming, etc. So add a few pages. In the image box, I put in 95. And lo and behold, I hit it right on the head. There was the will of Elizabeth Sinclair on image 95, just a few pages more than 87. You can see Elizabeth Sinclair listed here, and you can see the folio number 87 at the top. So it's pretty straightforward. You have to do a little hunting through the images, but if you play it smart, you can find it fairly easily. For the wills not included on the indexes at Find My Past, you need to refer to the table that is listed here in the Family Search Wiki. I chose to find a will in the range of 1636 to 1652. The first thing I did was click on the link in the wiki that says Family Search Digital Library. That brought me to this page, which is actually the title page of a digitized book of the indexes, covering the time period from 1636 to 1652. You'll need to click View inside over here on the left, and then you will start to see the pages of the book. I randomly scrolled through to the page right here and chose the name of Vincent Bovel from Trinity Parish in Guthramgate, York. His occupation was a tailor. Notice on the right of the page, it tells the day when the will was proved, April 9th, 1638. With that information, I went back to the wills and administrations that we already looked at and went to the original wills from April to July 1638, because the date given for the proving of the will was April 9th, 1638. Again, this film, although it doesn't show it here, will need to be viewed at a family search center. Once you get the digital images of the film, unlike last time, you do not have a folio number to give you the idea of where to look. However, we know that this was probated at the beginning of April, and this volume starts in April, so it didn't take long to find with just a hit and miss method. Here it is on page 46 of 722. Now, once again, you have the fun task of reading and highlighting. Hopefully, this information helps you to find some wills in England and Wales online. I hope you found something useful in this information. Don't forget that part 2 of these wills presentations will be in 2 weeks and will cover post-1857 wills of the Principal Probate Registry and how to find them online. Now, before I close, I just wanted to see if there were any questions anyone had. Here's one question I can see. Will AI be able to read the wills? I have tried that with several wills and haven't had very much success at this point. But I think eventually it will get to the point where AI will be able to read the wills. I know it looks a little bit daunting at first to do that, but as you begin, the more you do, the easier it becomes. And of course, one thing to remember is that everyone's writing is a little bit different. You could tell by the will of Nicholas. Did I show that? I don't even know if I showed that. Let me go back. Yeah, this will right here, that writing is quite a bit different than the will of John Sherrard Coleman and Elizabeth Sinclair. But you kind of get to knowing the writing and what it says after a while. And there are helps that you can get to help you if you look online.
So someone asked about handouts.
I will put up my slide presentation in a PDF format, and that will be the handout.
So under the questions section, a person asked, is it the same process to access Wales?
Yes, because those wills are from England and Wales. You've got a little bit more of a problem with Wales with the surnames, because so many surnames are the same, and you'd have to be a little more careful, about places and things like that. But yes, it would be the same process. Not with Scotland, though, and Ireland, no. But yes, Wales the same.
Another question, where would you look for area Gloucestershire?
In Gloucestershire, the records would be at the PCC. If they were a wealthy individual and the things I talked about that were necessary for a PCC will, if they qualified for that. However, There are lots of local ecclesiastical courts, and that will be in part 3. Those can be very tricky to find, and that's why I left that for part 3, so that we could look at some of these other methods previous, before doing the more difficult ones. But Gloucestershire, there are some local wills. For me, I look at the PCC first because it is the easiest search, even though some of my ancestors aren't that wealthy and they probably wouldn't have proved their wills in that court. But there are other local ecclesiastical courts before 1858 that we'll be looking at in part 3. So be sure to join me in part 3, because that will answer that question a little bit more fully.
There was another question asked, my family were shoemakers. Is it likely they would have a will?
It could very well be that they had a will. Yes, I've even got agricultural laborers, lots of actually agricultural laborers in my family, and some of them have wills. And usually if they had a trade, they often had a will. I had one that was a collar maker, which was actually made not collars for people, but collars for horses. And, he had a will. And I've got many others that had wills that were not rich and famous and were not gentlemen or the gentry. So yes, you could find a will for him. One thing I didn't mention is that women usually had to get permission from their husbands if they wanted to do a will. And so the wills for women you usually find are either spinsters or widows.